Leonetti for Winston Capital. If you see the background, we're back in New York, but not for long. We're leaving tonight for Latin America. We'll be in Argentina, Chile, Brazil. So let us know. We're going to talk about oil, big tumble, down 30% since the max. Big surprise for the analysts. We had Black Friday. Some comments on Goldman Sachs and this Malaysian issue. Good piece on Barron's about the FAANG stocks. We're going to talk about that because they are favorites. Brexit, the saga with Carlos Ghosn of Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi, and General Electric. But let's start with the markets. The markets took a tumble, 4.4% down on the week. The big loser was Apple on one side, Goldman Sachs, the energy sector, and Boeing. But let's go, in by steps. Oil was the big loser also on the week. It was only down 7.7% on Friday, down 30% since the maximum. And basically, the issue is excess of supply, and that most of the people, the analysts, miscalculated the Iran sanctions. I mean, they went into effect November 5th. However, there were too many exceptions that the US government gave to his partners: India, China, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan. So some of the biggest buyers of Iranian oil were exempt for another 6 months of the sanctions. So on this, there was a glut of oil. Now there are some people that are talking about maybe that there is the demand. For the most part, there is a supply issue. Remember one thing, the oil is the second most traded financial instrument, although it's not a financial instrument, it's a piece of reality, after the US dollar. So everybody's look at that. The world consumes about 100 million barrels of oils a day. It's impossible to storage in real big scale. So it has a system that it has to be constantly producing. So that's why the spot price is very volatile. We all depend on oil. 96% of the oil is used in transportation, ships, planes, cars, trucks, anything that moves uses oil. So in a way, we are always very attentive to that. So, and also, the oil energy sector is a big piece of the S&P. So on coming down, he brought it down. December 6th, there is a meeting of the OPEP. We'll see what happens. They are trying to cut production, Saudis and the Russians. Some people say that it could be a breakout. Remember, Russia is a non-member of the OPEP, but goes along. And, President Trump has been tweeting and pushing on the fact that he doesn't want the OPEP to cut production and curtail, levels of production, so the prices go up. Suffering here as well are the marginal producers, the frackers, the shale oil producers in the world, mainly the United States, with this drop in price. So basically, we will keep following that. We have Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And then we had Black Friday. Obviously, no numbers yet, but most people are saying that with this level of unemployment so low, the growth of the economy healthy, and the issue that we have consumer confidence at record heights, we might be looking at one of the best Black Fridays in decades. Some analysts say it will be 30, 40 years since we don't have these numbers. So clearly, next week will be a lot of conversation about Black Friday numbers. Morgan Stanley downgraded Goldman Sachs to neutral on this Malaysian scandal. Remember, we've been talking about that for a few weeks. And it's interesting, it's a peer talking to about another peer, which is a competitor. It's kind of, it's interesting. However, it is the point. This is a big thing. Has ramifications. We're discovering new things. Goldman Sachs suffered a big loss last year. It's down 25% for the year. It's the worst performing stock on the banking sector. And this scandal has some issues there, ramifications. So we will follow it. And talking about banks, there is a good piece on Warren Buffett on banks, which he owns more and more banks. And the good thing here is, although as we discussed here, the performance is not being there, banks are making a lot of money these days. With this new level of rates at the short term, at 2%, they're big spreads, they're making money. They're less leveraged than before, they're more cautious than before the crisis, so they're making a lot of money, and the valuations are very, very low. So if you're patient and you like it, like Warren Buffett, like a value investor, I think banks are a good interest. His biggest position is Wells Fargo, but he bought a lot of JP Morgan, American Express, even Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. So he's been buying more and more in banks because he feels confident that they are very undervalued. So we had Brexit. Looks like over the weekend is done. We have the announcements going to happen. Now we have to go through the votes in Parliament. We'll see what happens. but it looks like we are on the way to get there. If not, look at our musings from the last week. We had an interview of Brooke Newmark, former minister under David Cameron, and he had a very good story on Brexit. I don't want to repeat. Quickly, we have this saga on Carlos Ghosn, the big guru of Renault, Mitsubishi, Nissan, arrested on apparently misleading investors, lying about his compensations and some other issues. So, very interesting to see what happens there. What's the story? Anyways, there was a good piece, was repeated a few times. General Electric, many of you have asked me. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece by Aswad Damodaran, which was a professor of mine at NYU many, many moons ago, in which, on the sum of the parts of the company, he says this company could be worth about $11. The company is about under $8 because, he's adding all the pieces of the company, or he said, or it could be worth zero because it has a lot of hidden liabilities and problems. But, it's an interesting story to take a look. And then finally, there was a good long piece on Barron's about the FAANG stocks. One of the very interesting things, like look at Facebook. Now everybody hates it. The stock is trading at 18 times earnings, just 13% premium to the S&P for a company that the top line grows at 30-40% per annum. So it's trading like a value stock. It's discounted. So we think we like it. Remember, Microsoft and some of these IBMs, many of these big companies, at some point they were hated. The CEOs were very hard and they were hated and people were talking bad. We like it. We'll stick to that. Then the other company that suffered a lot last week was Apple. Finally, a lot of comments about the cycle. The people are not buying the new phone. The phones are too expensive. We want to stay with the company. We still think they have a lot going for them. And even if the cycle is slow, we like it. Be patient there. Netflix, same story. With a lot of correction. We saw some technicals. We sold some of the stuff, but we think the company is doing very well. And their favorite is Google because quietly and steadily, the company keeps growing the revenue and the bottom line at a very, very good numbers. If anybody wants more detail, let me know. We'll send you the stuff. I don't want to make the call too long, bore you with details. But it's a good piece going through some of the leaders. And remember, the U.S. market always works with leaders. That's this now. There used to be the banks or the energy sector, or used to be the IBMs, the Microsoft, the Intels, the Cisco. It's always about a group of leaders, 20, 30, 10, 15 companies that, set the pace for the rest of the economy, the rest of the market to go. As the leaders sometimes change, they rotate, and you have to be, mindful of that. But now we had a big correction of the leaders, maybe because they had a big, good run over the year, and they were too expensive, if you can argue. But now, at this stage, they are becoming very attractive in price and demand, and their business model still is untouched and is doing very, very well. So that's all. Like always, for our regular clients, 9:45 every day. We'll connect, we'll discuss the markets. If you want more information, visit us at winston.capital. Have a great week.